can get this YouTube chat to work. Okay, so if you're over on YouTube, then I'm going to be seeing your comments via Holly. She is the moderator. My eyes are looking a little weird. This is because I'm doing this before the sun's gone down. The sun's shining in my windows, messes with my green screen a little bit. But I am eager to share my language learning library. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask, and I will gladly get to them. So let me make sure that I am catching everything from you guys today. Any comments that come up. So I'm going to go through some of my books that I have not mentioned before, including just one or two that I know I wanted to mention I would bring up for Chinese. But these are still actually all sorts of different languages that I'm going to be sharing with everybody, so you can see how I process my language learning. Okay, great. Now we got all the comments coming through. And Alison starts us off today with the very eloquent sup. Oh, good. I am seeing YouTube. Ah, great. I didn't think it was working, but I'm going to bring you guys on top to the higher level here. All right. So, hello again. How are you doing, Luna and Danielle? I'm gonna see if I can get these in a separate screen before I start showing you guys these books properly. And that way I don't have to worry about squinting to see the comments. You're gonna hear a siren. That is your confirmation that I'm a New Yorker. Sirens, sirens everywhere. Okay. And pop-out chat. Great. Okay, so now I got everyone's questions coming up. Hello to Rosario in Santa Cruz, Bolivia, and Cesar in Brazil, and anyone over on Facebook, feel free to say hello. And saluton to Henry. So, very quickly, I wanted to show you some of these books. If you have any questions at all about these books, I'll see them pop up. I'll try to take them. If you have any general language learning questions, like, Benny, how do I learn this language when this thing happens in that situation? Then I'm not going to be able to help you as easily. I'm sorry about the fuzziness behind me. The timing for this gets the light in the windows. Benny said your name. Yes, that's right. Danielle H. Guns with 2 N's and an S. I said your name, Danielle H. Guns. And it's great when people appreciate, especially when Daniel H. Guns appreciates that I say Daniel H. Guns' name. See what I did there? Okay. So Joanna's going to, or Joanna, not sure which, you're going to the gathering, so you're going to be seeing me there. Now, you'll notice I have no one, but 2 cameras here because, ooh, look at this. I feel like I'm in a Pac-Man game where I go out the left side of the screen and I come in the right side of the screen. Isn't that great? So this way I get to show you the books without being like, hey, look at this. I'll hold it up in front of the webcam. I mean, the advantage is that you would see my ugly face a little bit less, which would be good. But no, let's move forward with this. I want to make sure. I'm wondering why I'm not seeing the YouTube comments coming, or the Facebook comments here. No, it should be good. Okay, anyway, if I'm missing any comments, then Holly's going to share them with me. So I won't worry about that for now. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Right, so just to jump straight in. So this is not a book that I myself have needed because I wrote it. This is the Fluent in 3 Months book in German. Fließend in 3 Monaten. You should be able to get this on Amazon even if you don't live in Germany. So there you go. You can pronounce it with the English J when you speak English. Will do, Joanna. Appreciate the tip there. Okay, and so I actually, out of all of the translations of Fluent in 3 Months, this one is my favorite because I got to work with the translator a lot more. The other books, the publisher didn't get me in touch with the translator, which is such a pity, because when you translate, if you get to talk to the person who actually wrote the document, you can do a lot more. You can kind of figure out what they had in mind and stuff. So the translator of this book would email me and say, when you said this, did you mean it in this way or this way? And checking with me, and my voice was really maintained. So this is probably the best translation you will get of Fluent in 3 Months. If you speak German, definitely check it out. I don't have a very complicated writing style, so I think it'll be very easy to read through it. I also have the complete series. Now with Spanish, for instance, I don't necessarily need to take the complete course because I've already reached the C2 level, but I did get this anyway because I got all of the complete courses for Spanish, Italian, French, and German to actually help me as references when I was writing language hacking Spanish, Italian, French, and German, because it's with the same people. Teach yourself. And they had a couple of references here and vocabulary that I wanted to be sure that I was using a particular way. So I have these books for that particular purpose. There we go. Okay, and hello to Dushan in Chile and Bruno in Brazil over on Facebook. So I do see you guys there. And what else? Okay, so you guys should be able to hear me fine. Kim is saying, grammar mucks, I need them, but they suck. Is there not an app or book with concise, color-coded, iconified grammar tables anywhere? One with case-intensive languages? For grammar books, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, they suck. What the problem is we tend to use them maybe a little too soon, so we're not ready for them, and then they're way too complicated, way over our heads. You can probably find ones that are visually appealing. If anyone has any suggestions of fun grammar books, make sure to share them in the comments. I've never found a fun grammar book, but what I found that works for me personally is to stay clear of the grammar until I'm an intermediate level in the language. And then I find that I'm a little bit more confident, and it's not as heavy. It's not as difficult to get through that kind of stuff. So that's what I would say, Kim, in response to that. Okay, so anyway, complete Spanish. What else do I have? This one is Fluent in 3 Months in Korean, which I can't tell you anything about because I don't speak any Korean, except for Woppa Gangnam Style. That's not Korean, is it? No. And this is actually Lithuanian. It's weird because there isn't like a French translation of Fluent in 3 Months, and they're working on the Spanish one. I haven't seen it yet, but Lithuanian one came out. So that's just the the Fluent in 3 Months translations. I wanted to start there. Now next I have, let me get them all in a row so I can go through them at once. I have the Assimil phrase books. So this is Turkish because 2 years ago I actually went to Turkey and then Greece. Like there's an area where you get to do a boat ride around it, and so we took a week off. This was before we got into writing the language hacking books. So for that, I wanted to make sure I could reactivate my Turkish. So I used this, and you'll notice Turkish is spelled very interestingly, and that is because this is actually in French. So I'm a big fan of Assimil, but mostly they're French books, which tend to have a very wide range. So I use Assimil for pretty much any language I like. This is a process called laddering, where you learn one language via another. And in my case, it's a big help because when I see a new word, if I see the translation of the word car and I see it beside the word car, I might think via translations. But if I see it beside the word voiture, I tend to actually make a better association with the concept of the thing with four wheels. And that helps me. And just seeing the grammar explained in a different way, and I just like these books, and these are really small and compact. So in my case, I didn't have a Turkish mission 2 years ago. I had a Turkish mission maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago, and I did intensive stuff. But here, I really just wanted to refresh my memory, so I used Assimil for that. And then this, similarly, I was in Budapest, maybe, it was also 2 years ago. So I got the Hongrois de Poche. And an interesting fact, for those of you who speak French, this is one of the cases where it's an aspirated H. So it's not Longois or Longois, it's Le Hongrois. You actually have the Le separate to the other word. It doesn't blur together. Random little feature of French that applies to some words and not other ones. Okay. Zivlogs ask over on YouTube, does your book have an Italian translation? It does. If so, what's the title? Yes, I remember, because when I first saw the title, I got very confused because of the way it was sent to me. So the title is Il parla lingue. Okay? So that is just il, and then parla lingue, P-A-R-L-A-L-I-N-G-U-E. I think I got that right. I need to see things visually, but I probably lost track. Anyway, il parla lingue. And at first, because I was like speaking Spanish, I read that and I was like, what? Because like in Spanish, el means the, and also he, like a person. And I thought it was saying he speaks languages, and I was like, that's the most boring title I've ever seen for a book. But then I remembered, no. In Italian, it doesn't work like that. Italian il is just there. Lui means he, and it's the language speaker, the speaker of languages, and it's kind of motivating you to have this title yourself, the language speaker. And I thought that was cool. I like that. And I don't have a physical copy here myself. I should actually ask the Italian publisher to send me one so I could like show people and like promote it and whatever. But anyway, look for Il parla lingue, okay? And that should get you the Italian book, Zivlogs. Okay, so next is just another Assimil book, Le Grec de Poche. This one was an older version. It said Occasion, which means second hand. And I got this, you will notice, in Giberjeune. If you're in Paris, if you guys ever visit Paris, definitely check out Giberjeune. Oh, it's a little fuzzy. There we go. You can see how that's spelt. And this is like the big language store. There's a language bookshop. There's one close to just like in just south of the Notre Dame. There's a bunch of them, but one in particular is very good for language learning books. So yeah, that's that. Now, I did promise this one. So this is a book I highly recommend, since we were talking about grammar, and since I have been promising people I would show them something for Asian languages. This is what I recommend for Chinese grammar. Let me just see if I missed any comments before I get to this book. Okay. You've been doing this. I've never seen anyone so passionate about you for continue così. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Kao Seki Burukua, which I definitely said wrong, and apologies for that. I have indeed been live streaming all weekend long. Been doing tons of these because I have been very busy and wanted to make sure I got you guys caught up and encouraged. Okay, and Joanna says she likes laddering. Sometimes she also gets books because she's abroad at the time. She books for modern Greek in Romanian because she was in Romania. That's very good. Yeah, it's a very good memento, as it were. The mix between languages that you get to bring as a souvenir. Okay, and over on Facebook, Pau can speak Lithuanian, lived there for 6 years. Maybe you can tell me if this is a good translation. My Lithuanian fluent in 3 months. That'd be great. I haven't heard anyone tell me about it because it just showed up on my doorstep one day. I was like, oh wow, I have a book in Lithuanian? Okay, if you say so. Whereas the other ones I liked to coordinate. Okay, we have some... Holly shared answered the question of the... and actually, Holly, that's one word. il par la lingua is like the space is removed between those two. So that's, just keep that in mind if you're searching for that. Okay, where can I purchase the 3-month Korean book? I don't know. I'm not sure how the Amazon Korean stuff, but if you can read that, then you will be able to search for it and probably find it through some kind of a bookseller. Not sure if Amazon supplies it, but there you go. So note the title, and then you can probably find it. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so let's see what's going on with this book. So when I was actually in Canada, of all places, I found this book and I looked through it, and it was by far one of the better explanations of Chinese grammar that I had found. Now, Chinese grammar is not one of the biggest issues in Chinese, but there are a couple of things in that language, like words used to denote measurement that you have to put between things that we don't actually have in English. Like, you don't just say two people, you say two groups of people, or, you know, things that you would do for uncountable objects. Leaf of lettuce or whatever. You have this extra word that you add in, and some of those things you don't have to worry about them if you're a beginner. But I got this book because at the time I was a lower intermediate and I wanted to push myself up a notch, and I found this gave me very good explanations. Let me show you an example. It follows this kind of pattern. I guess I also found the pattern of presentation kind of useful, since I'm used to this. If you guys have seen my previous presentation of my language learning library, you would have seen the Harrop's grammar books that I shared, and those are like so dense with grammar. They don't have pictures and like color coded. Someone was asking about that earlier. I don't actually look for that in grammar books. I expect grammar books to be dry and just give me the grammar, the explanations, and a bunch of examples. And as long as I'm not using it at a beginner level, as long as I'm using it when I'm intermediate or higher, then that's fine. I have enough context that I can use that. But this, as you can see, starts comparing different ways of using various characters, and I don't know. I can give you just a look at the table of contents here. There we go. That's in focus. So you get an idea if you happen to speak Mandarin and you don't have a problem with these particular things, then you know that this, because this isn't advanced book for advanced Mandarin. This is still intermediate, and even a lot of beginner stuff is in here. So I would see if these things are things you have trouble with in Mandarin, and if so, I personally like how this book explains it. Okay, so there you go. You'll find it on Amazon and whatever. And after this, what I'll do is after this video, I'll put the links to all of these books in the description and in the comments. So that way you don't have to search for them. Anything I can find, I will give you links. So don't worry about that. All right. Next, this is something that Lauren used. This is the BBC Russian Phrase Book and Dictionary. She found it useful when she had her own Russian project. I can't speak to the quality of it, but we didn't throw it out. So that's a good sign. It's a good sign she found it useful. And what's my book? Okay. Here's another one for Mandarin that I did actually find useful. This is the Complete Mandarin Chinese from Teach Yourself, and this is a good one for starters. So what I've been doing is trying to reactivate my Mandarin since I had my intensive project, and I have been wanting to reactivate it for a while, been wanting to get back into it, push it back up to the level it was before so that I can continue to push it on beyond that. And a book that kind of started over from the beginning was what I needed, and this is essentially the best one to do that. And what I like about it is it's based off pinyin that you can see here, which is a controversial point that a lot of people prefer that you work off the Chinese characters, but I'm a big fan of trying to speak first and then work in your reading and writing skills. I've mentioned that many times. So this book, you can see it just gives you the actual pronunciation via the pinyin. Okay, so that is one I'd recommend for people starting off. Or if you're like me and you need to reactivate your level and you want to just kind of get through all of those basics very quickly. Anytime I reactivate, that's my process. I don't have anything particularly special. I just do like a reminder course like this, and this will this says beginner to intermediate. So as long as it says everything you need to speak and read and write. I wouldn't say everything you need to speak and read and write, but I do find it very useful for that aspect of getting into beginner stuff. And it gets you up to an intermediate level of speaking. In my case, gets me back up to that stage. Of course, you would want to combine this with other things like speaking and so on. All right. So let's see what else we got going on with your comments while I've been there. Where in Canada were you when you found that book? Says Alex. Alex, I was in a bookshop that I was actually giving a presentation. I was presenting Fluent in 3 Months. And this was it in Vancouver or Toronto? I forget. I have a list of book tour stops that I did. Either that, or if you go on the Facebook page and kind of go back to the dates that I would have been on the book tour, I would mention it. But yeah, I just happened to pick it up in that bookshop. I don't remember which one it was, but it was one that I was giving a presentation for my own book, if that information is of any use to you. Okay. So what else are we saying? Okay, we got some general questions which I can't be taking today, since I'm talking mostly about books. So here Kim says, Kim Kaiser, I like book series. The Teach Yourself Digital Enhanced Complete series are decent. I've used it for, you've got 2-letter notification ways of saying these languages. ISPLKR. I'm guessing PL is Polish and KR is Korean. IS, I'm not sure what language that refers to. Maybe somebody else can enlighten me. So she says they're okay, but they could do its improvement. Any other good series? How does your series compare? Okay, so my series, how would it compare to the general Teach Yourself complete books? So as you can see, these the complete books, they try to teach you how to speak, read, and write. And there's a few like reading exercises, like they have articles and stuff, which for European languages, you don't have to worry about characters and stuff. You'd be able to actually follow along with the text once you know the vocabulary and some basic grammar. But with the language hacking series, we intentionally did not do that. We wanted to teach people no reading and writing skills at all. We just wanted to give them the correct spelling of the words, but make the focus about speaking, and also be okay with making mistakes, and to combine it with italki so they'd get on and start speaking as well. So if you're starting off in a language and your focus is speaking, that's when the language hacking books are probably books that you should totally consider. But if you're more interested in reading and you don't really want to speak, then or you want to speak like at the same amount of priority as the other books, then the complete series is a lot better. I've been a fan, like I obviously have this association with Teach Yourself now since we have these books we published together. But long before I ever knew anyone at Teach Yourself, I genuinely got these books as part of my initial few books that I would use to start off my language projects. Sorry if I have weird eyes from this background coming through on me. So yeah, that's my quick answer to how my series would compare. Okay. Yeah, some general language questions. Sorry that I'm not getting to general language questions. I wanted to talk about books and courses specifically in this session, since I had a lot of open Ask Me Anything Q&As this weekend. Okay. Yeah. Sorry that I'm not getting to those questions. What would be a good book to read for fun as a beginner in Spanish? Okay, here we go. So Henry Leonardi asked what would be a good book to read as a beginner. For fun, I am a huge fan of comic books. I actually got a lot of good mileage of reading. I know for German, for instance, I read the German equivalent of the DuckTales book starring Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and they have completely different names in every single language. And what's great about comic books is you have this visual aspect, so it's very engaging, it's fun to read, but they still have the speech bubbles coming out of them. So you have to do that extra bit of work, but it's not so much work, because if you're a beginner, reading can be very tricky. Other than that, depending on the language, like with French, for instance, when I was in that bookshop I mentioned, Gilbert Jeune, they had a great selection of books that help people learn for specific levels of French. I think including all the way down to like A2, maybe even A1, but definitely A2, definitely B1. And they are either bilingual books, so you have both sides, and you can even find bilingual books on Amazon, on the Kindle. So that's good. You can compare one page to the other. But these particular books were kind of either rewritten or taken from authors who had written them in such a way that they are very simple. I wouldn't take anything too complex, because as a beginner you don't want to overwhelm yourself. But that's like generally, if something has a guide, I don't know other languages that have, as well as French has done, this kind of list of books and what level you can be, and the books are entirely in that language. But if you find reading material, you find things that you like to read in general, like I'd like to read about science and language learning, of course, and travel. I would find books on those themes, because reading a newspaper is going to be too heavy, because newspapers have a lot of politics and stuff in them, and I'm not as big into politics in English, so I'm not going to be as confident in any other language that it happens to come up. So for French, and Mogen reads the Saturday morning breakfast cereal. I did not know they had that in French. Actually, a lot of good comics are translated to multiple languages. I've seen Calvin and Hobbes, and I've read the entire Calvin and Hobbes in English, like multiple times. I owned those books when I was growing up, but I've seen them available for purchase in other languages. So one trick you can do is, if you think of a comic that you really like, a comic book or comic book characters, is to search for that name on Wikipedia and then see if the translation on the left has a slightly different name in other languages, or maybe something might be original in those languages, like Tintin is very popular, and like I remember Tintin when I was growing up, and I didn't even realize that Tintin was originally in French from Belgium until many years later. So there are a lot of really good comics in other languages originally, but maybe comics that you already like have already been translated. And once you find that name, you can search for it and see if you can buy those books online. You might buy them from the Amazon equivalent, like Amazon.fr for French, Amazon.com.mx for Spanish if you're in America, or Amazon.es if you're in Europe, and you would have that Amazon send it, because maybe your local Amazon doesn't have it. And otherwise, ask people where do they get books. There are usually equivalent booksellers online in each country, and if you happen to find a good shop that has language books in that language, that's great. Here in New York, we're very lucky, because I Instagrammed a few weeks ago, there's a whole bookshop with just Japanese books, and I could spend all day long reading Japanese anime and all that if I wanted. But of course, that's New York. I know a lot of people watching this may not live in as international cities. Okay. And Joanna reads XKCD's What If in German, helpful for science nerds among us. Yeah. And to answer your question, Omar, sadly, I don't know of any good books in Ukrainian, and if anybody does, then feel free to give some tips there. Okay. And Daryl, when you lived in Taipei, did you find any books that you still use and or like? I don't remember books in particular that I used that stood out for me. Especially because in Taipei they have a bias for using bopomofo in Taiwanese printed books instead of pinyin, and that's a little bit harder. I prefer to use pinyin, so that meant that those kind of books I was avoiding them. But I would use Taiwanese listening. I would listen to the radio and so on. So that's why I didn't really gravitate towards Taiwanese books. Okay, and then now that I've caught up on all the comments, very last couple of books. Here's one that you could see has kind of been worn out. This is Ilustrita Oficiala Radicaro Esperanta por Lernanto. This is an Esperanto learning book that is actually a visual dictionary. So I like this to look up new words I come across and reference it. Whenever I'm going to an Esperanto event, I'll flick through it and remind myself of words that I might have forgotten. And then finally, here's one that I know Lauren definitely did highly recommend. Read and Write Russian Script. Once again from Teach Yourself. You can see we have a good selection of Teach Yourself stuff. This was before we ever had a partnership with them. And Lauren used this to be able to understand and read the alphabet relatively quickly. She got through this book in no time. So, yep. And yeah, Joanna, that is Moyose for sure. Okay, so yeah, that's great. I think I managed to cover most of your questions. I just wanted to show you guys these books very quickly. Just do a quick half-hour hangout today for that. So as always, you will find me actually after I have a quick bite to eat. I'm going to be streaming some more Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm going to be playing it in German and hopefully Italian, maybe Spanish tonight, depending on how much time I have. So for that, go to the link you see in the top right, beam.pro/polyglot, or Twitch. I'm Irish Polyglot there. And otherwise, if you see this later and you have questions, generally if you put them in the YouTube comments, if they're like complex questions, I wouldn't get to them. But I will get to any questions I possibly can in my general live Q&As. So make sure you click the bell notification icon on YouTube or click my Facebook page to get notified of when there's live videos, and you will not miss these, and you'll be able to ask me those questions, and I'll very gladly answer anything at all that's on your mind. I really hope you guys have enjoyed these live hangouts that I've been doing this weekend, and otherwise I appreciate you guys following, subscribing, checking out my other videos, and seeing me all over the internet. And yeah, I love inspiring and helping language learners, and I know actually see some of you guys because you might be at polyglot gatherings and other events. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Really enjoyed hanging out with you this weekend, and I'll be streaming just some gaming that you're welcome to check out whenever you like. So, yep, I'm going to wrap it up there. Everyone, happy language learning.